you and I have seen the content that you said that Agile is dead right now. Industry is, very complicated without Agile right now, as I can see. So why do you think Agile is dead? Please explain.
Sure, happy to. I made that video partly as a provocative video because the title doesn't come from me, it comes from Dave Thomas. And I discovered this video only recently. I think it was made 6 years ago, which seems like a long time. But in fact, in the project management world, things move relatively slowly. And his point that Agile is dead, no, I don't actually agree with it, but I thought it was a very interesting viewpoint and why he explained it. And from his perspective, there's a couple of kind of humorous things. One is that he hated the idea of how people use the word Agile, which is an adjective, and they use it as a noun. They say, I'm Agile, or my team is Agile, or something like that. He hates that, but that's a very specific thing for him, right? I think his more important complaints was how the Agile methods have been kind of taken over and turned into what he calls an industry. That is this industry of certifications and trainings and things. And you've seen that yourself. You know, at a minimum, you have Scrum and you have scaled Agile, you have all of these sorts of things. And of course, even now established frameworks such as Prince2 are getting on the bandwagon because there's a Prince2. Agile, PMI have now added a whole Agile component, which I say all that makes sense. I don't think Agile is dead at all. But I ran a poll recently, and it was just very simply asking people, how had they implemented Agile methods in their organization? By the way, note, I'm using Agile as an adjective always.
Okay.
How had they done that in practice? And I gave 3 simple definitions of fully, partially, and not at all, basically, what I call Agile in name only. You know, only 14% replied that they'd implemented it fully. 14%. And that's one data point, but that meshes very well with a lot of conversations I've had, both with project managers, but also PMO leaders, about the problems they've had in their organizations with Agile. And that's also part of the Dave Thomas message, that somehow the high principles of the Agile methods have kind of been forgotten. And so kind of building on that, we get to a situation where, although a lot of organizations say that they use Agile methods and they got people trained in Scrum, whatever they choose, right? They're not necessarily getting full value out of those methods. And the reason is simple. It's mostly because of a lack of the mindset change. Most organizations I've ever dealt with kind of do Agile, yes, Agile in name only, if we must use that phrase, which means they kind of start working on a project in sprints or time boxes, and without much planning and prioritization up front, without much discussions with their customers saying, actually, you know what, you're going to have to prioritize. And it's a fundamental part of the method. If you don't do that, then we're just working in iterations. Yeah. It's just iterative waterfall. Now, for me, I don't mind which methods you use. I've used all sorts of methods, from full-on waterfall in regulated industries to hybrid methods to Agile methods as well. That's not the important point. I think the important point is, if you're going to use a method, implement it properly, and that way you'll get the results that you expect.
So, like, implementation is important, like, rather than
super important, vital. In the case of Agile methods, it's a fundamental underpinning, because the mindset change is completely different. And I always put it in these terms. You're basically telling a sponsor, you know what? You're not going to get everything you wish for, you desire. If you want that, if you want this whole long wish list of requirements, fine, write them down. We'll use a traditional method. But where Agile methods shine, and they do shine, is when we don't quite know what the solution will look like. And that's the norm if we're doing certainly custom software development, but also complex package configuration. Even SaaS packages these days are very sophisticated animals in terms of the configuration possibilities. So you need to be able to iterate. The reality is, and I've been there myself, the reality is you can't necessarily visualize in advance everything that you're going to want, or maybe not even half of it. So you've got to work with the software, you've got to experiment, you've got to learn. And that's, I think, one of the huge benefits of Agile methods, that learning that happens between the client and the development team. It's co-learning about what works for the client.